But what's going on, everybody? This is Chris Classic dropping a car vlog. We are going to do a live review for WWE Clash of Paris. Like I said, it helps with memory space, and then by the time I get done editing it, and also the Wi-Fi is kind of bad before I go into work. So nobody tells you to remember that God love you, Christ love you, and I love you as well. Make sure you subscribe to the Take It Home podcast, where I talk about professional wrestling topics, and I put up my matches as Classic Alpha, a professional wrestler of 13 years. Make sure you also subscribe to me and my wife's professional wrestling company, C3 Ultimate Wrestling, where we definitely have full control of our company back as of August 30th at the 11th hour. When we get together, we're going to talk about the show, we're going to review, we're going to give our thoughts for each match. Very great show. Thanks to the fans, thanks to the supporters, the sponsors, Critical Drinking, Backbreaker Apparel, Shooting from the Script, Taking Home Podcast. Truly grateful for everything that has happened. Truly grateful for the show, and I cannot wait to speak about the show with my wife, but the matches will be uploaded individually eventually whenever we start editing it. Hopefully it'll be this week, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about wrestling topics. So Clash in Paris was yesterday, and this was the final PLE on the Peacock Network. So this will probably be my final time having Peacock in the month of September. I know a lot of people are upset with that. Now, you can see why. Because I think people are under the impression that they were going to stream PLEs until like December, because they said the deal that stuff for PLEs was going to start in 2026. But then it was like, nah, it's going to happen this year. So I know a lot of people are upset with that. I understand. I'm like kind of upset, but kind of not. I mean, at this point, I'll watch it when I watch it. You get what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm not a big subscriber to VPNs. I know a lot of people are. I know even Stephanie, she did a commercial, or not a commercial, but she did a video about it wherever she was getting interviewed or whatever. And she was saying how you can do the VPN and stuff. So I don't know, man. It's in the air about VPNs and stuff like that. I know there's other ways to watch it and stuff. I do like to fully support companies that I watch, but at the same time, like I said, it's been in the air with their quality and the stuff with consistency. But still, we're going to talk about the final PLE on the Peacock Network. If I don't say these order right, please forgive me. You guys could correct me in the comments, but here we go. First match. First of all, the set looked nice. The crowd was bananas. Shout out to Paris. Anyway, Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. The Tribal Chief versus the Tribal Thief. The Ula Fala versus the Shula Fala. Both of them came dressed in fresh gear and stuff like that. Roman had two Ula Falas for the Wild Samoans, for his uncle and for his father. Obviously, Bronson Reed came out with the two pairs of Jordans that he has. He also had Paul Heyman. I was, for the most part, excited for this match. I do like Bronson, like that. It seems like when it comes to wrestling and stuff, trying to make a mark and stuff like that. So I don't know if it was his idea about the Tribal Thief thing, but I think that is creative. A lot of people are already believing in Bron Breakker just to be the breakout star, and I think that's where they're heading to. But I do think that like Bronson is making his own way as a solid big guy. He lost weight and stuff like that. He's agile and he's still powerful. Like a tsunami is like one of the most standard wrestling moves, just falling off the top of the rope. But it looks so devastating, especially when he does it and stuff like that, because it looks so good. So shout out to Bronson. Great match. I do like the lead up to it, with outside of Roman showing up like at almost every other end of Raw for like the last 2 minutes. The stuff about them being Samoan and stuff like that, it was good. Paul Heyman's involvement, the crowd singing Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman trying to sing Bronson Reed. Excuse my voice, I've had a crazy week of wrestling. it was good, like the crowd participation. Roman let the people talk and everything, and it was solid at the beginning. Definitely had to get a water. The way it started, it was a little bit of the back and forth. Roman would get the upper hand. Eventually, Roman tried to pick him up and then fell forward. That's some old school stuff right there. And that's what I love about protecting a big man's size. Now with wrestling, a lot of people try to body slam. They try to get that Andre body slam by Hulk Hogan moment. And it's like in a lot of matches. And sometimes tease that. You don't always have to do that. Even John Cena, especially when he was in his prime, he wasn't just picking up people like that. It was anticipating, like with Big Show or with Viscera, rest in peace, Viscera, or Great Khali and stuff like that. When he would go against bigger guys, it would always be a struggle. What's going on in Infinity? It'd always be a struggle. So I think Roman and them starting off that way, it was good. For the most part, excuse me, it was a brawl. It was definitely a brawl between both guys and things like that. Almost every time Roman would try to set up for a Superman punch or a spear, Bronson would stop it somehow. I remember he tried to do spear. Bronson, they look alike too. It's kind of. I don't know if it's a Samoan thing, but anyway. Roman went for a spear. Bronson stopped him and gave him a powerbomb, a sit-out powerbomb. Bronson, keep doing that sit-out powerbomb. That was devastating. Bronson even did a dive. At first, I didn't think he was going to do it because Roman stopped him the first time, but then he did it the second time. Bronson talking trash to Roman, and also the crowd was very good. Paul being Paul, very, very solid. Roman would get in the pockets of fighting and also, punching back and stuff like that. Roman's Jordans was great. See ya, Infinity. Anyway, Roman stuff was great. Bronson things was great. It ended with Roman getting the spear on Bronson. 1, 2, 3. Roman gets his shoes back. He chokes out Paul. And while he's throwing his shoes, like he's signing his shoes and throwing it in pairs, I think he threw one shoe? Like he had somebody cut the shoestrings. He threw one shoe, and then all these Brawns and stuff. Braun came out of nowhere, Braun Breaker, and while he was about to throw the other shoe, he speared Roman through the announce table and messed himself up, because you could tell he started holding his back and started scrunching back like, dang, that hurt. I feel bad for the fans that was anticipating them 3 shoes, but still, I'm going to be a little quick because I'm a little bit behind. So, anyway, they beat up Roman. You think they would stop? Roman was like was walking to the bout. I was like, where's Jey Uso in this? I literally Jey Uso, because I feel like Jey Uso should have been there. I don't know if it was a miscue or whatever. Like at one point, Roman's song should have been, it's me, Uso, day one. Hey, I don't see Jay. I see no Yeats. Where is he? He did come out eventually, and then he got beat up too, obviously. But still, I was like, man, this is going on a little long. So we're going to probably not see Roman for a bit, but not surprised with everything going on. Next match, tag match between the Street Profits dressed up in Borderlands. I don't know, in my heart and spirit, I don't think they play Borderlands, but I could be wrong. With the sponsorships and stuff like that, they have wrestlers dressed like it, or like they care dressed like it, or whatever. Like that, it looked a little odd to me because of how fresh they be dressing and stuff. But still, it is what it is. Get that money. Get the money. Going against the Wyatt Six, which was Dexter and Joe Gacy. I'm not a big fan of the Wyatt Six. You guys know that. Paris they were singing the songs and stuff, and they was excited. For the most part, it was a solid match. Key things to take away from the match was Montez wanted to start, but then Dawkins put his hand out. It was like, no, I got it. And then he started it and stuff, and then eventually Montez tagged in and then told Dawkins to go back. So a lot of people are anticipating Montez's push as a singles competitor. So we'll see where it goes with that. Like I said, solid match. I think they all did great. So eventually it led to what's her name? Sister Abigail, Nikki Cross. She held Montez's leg, and then Uncle Howdy both did the Sister Abigail and threw Montez in, and then they did their finisher 1, 2, 3. Like I said, it was solid. It was okay. We knew what was going on with that. You know, the Wide Six are the tag champions out of nowhere because they was missing for so long, and then they took them from the Street Profits. So a lot of people feel a certain way about Triple H and hooking up people who look like Street Profits, of course, but still it was good for the most part. Match 3, to my knowledge, is Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. Unfortunately, it's a match that nobody asked for. I understand trying to add prestige to the Intercontinental Women's title because it's still relatively new. I don't think that this was it. This definitely was a clash of eras in the women's division. Sometimes you can have a clash of eras match and it's good. Sometimes it's just like, okay, I see why you guys don't mesh well. And I don't think that these two women mesh well. When you think of clash of eras, you think of Hogan and you think of The Rock. You think of Cena, you think of The Rock. You think of AJ Styles and John Cena because it was the TNA era top dog versus the WWE era top dog. You think of stuff like that. This just wasn't it. People love Becky, obviously, foreign and the country and stuff like that. Love Becky and everything, so you guys know how that is. Nikki, she was getting little to no reaction. I think the whole match, some people were singing, they were doing a whole bunch of other stuff that just wasn't into the match. Both of these women, I do feel like the pacing was off, and I feel like it was a lot of mess ups. The biggest thing that people are going to talk about and make fun of is Nikki Bella trying to do her springboard kick, and she turned around and kicked Little Jimmy, because she definitely did not kick Becky Lynch. There's also a spot where Nikki was hitting or attempting to hit Becky's face on the announce tables, and Becky was just doing this instead of getting hit in the face. So I don't, it just didn't look good on either one of these women. I don't think this was a match that nobody wanted. And let me say, you can start off as a match that nobody wanted and asked for, but you can end the match to being like, dang, I'm glad this match happened because it was good. So still, I'm just going to say that part right now. But still, going back into it, Becky did a nice pin at the end and won. Yeah, like I said, they just didn't mesh well, and it's like I understand giving Nikki a wrestle, because it's not just on Nikki, like I said. And I've said stuff about Becky. I said that Becky is a great character and stuff like that, and for the most part her ring work can be very, very solid, but still this just wasn't it. Match 4, Rusev versus Sheamus, very great match, very solid match between it. Was the only no holds barred until the main event, which I was fine because I got sick of no DQ matches and all of this other stuff, but still very good match between them. Back and forth, the crowd was into it. Sheamus is just a legend in his own right. You can tell he gives 100% and things like that. Getting the kendo, like he jumped on Rusev on the outside, and then Rusev hit him, batter up with the kendo stick, brawling with the barrels and stuff like that, the beats of the Baron, all of that stuff. That ended when Rusev hit him with the long shillelagh, and Sheamus kicked out, and then he gave him basically the accolade with the shillelagh in his mouth and pulled back, and Sheamus tapped. They said this was the second time in Sheamus' career where he tapped. I forgot when the first time was. Might have been Bryan Danielson. I'm not sure. Somebody knows in the chat, let me know. But very, very solid. I think those two did great. They held nothing back when it comes to wrestling. So shout out to them. John Cena versus Logan Paul. If John Cena wins, it'll be his 100th PLE victory. It'll be 7 short of Undertaker, who has 107. So this match was great. I'm not even gonna lie. The match was pretty good for what it was. Like I said, I don't like John Cena's positioning in the company and stuff like that with the good guy, bad guy thing and stuff like that, but it was good. Logan Paul, you cannot tell me that this man wasn't made to wrestle. I know he does a lot of other business ventures and stuff like that, but at the same time, the man can wrestle. The man can wrestle. This is him. Like, I think wrestling is a perfect job for him because a lot of people hate him, and you can go to wrestling and be hated. So I think that he did a great job. 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 He when it comes to the situation. I think he definitely did a great job when it comes to being a. I think he's done a great job when it comes to being a wrestler. Uh, Him and John Cena went back and forth. John Cena went back into his bag of being the old school John Cena, so that works. Obviously, my problem being an old school person is there's a lot of kickouts of finishers. I do understand going out with a bang when it comes to being a final PLE and also basically being in Paris. But still, excuse me, guys, I think that it was still a solid match for the most part. It's one of Cena's best matches since returning. Not even gonna lie to you guys. Like I've said, like, especially the tone and the pacing of this match, it just hasn't been that great. Especially when he was bad, because it didn't look like he was that interested in the company wrestling. Or maybe it was just because he was just old or whatever. Maybe he was just trying to get back in the groove. But still, it was pretty good between both of them. Like I said, a few months ago, they were partners. And then now they're bitter enemies. So it's just like how wrestling goes. Wrestling goes like that. It was like, hey, 1 minute we cool, and then 1 minute we ain't. So John Cena gave him a lot of attitude adjustments. And I was like, okay, I don't think Paul needs to take 5 attitude adjustments. And then he gave him an attitude adjustment, then picked him up for another attitude adjustment and finally won. And it's just like, one would have just been fine. Excuse me, trying to get out the glare. 1 or 2 could have just been fine. You know what I'm saying? Logan showing his athleticism with his frog splash. I forgot what he called it. Let me just hold it. It was a lot of stuff with both of the guys. I think both of them did a great job. They was calling Cena's STF, the STFU. It's been a while since they said that. My bad, Junebug. Shout out to you, Christopher Mills. But yeah, I'm gonna try to wrap it up because I'm just at work. But still, it was great for the most part. Like I said, there was a lot of attitude adjustments. I feel like he probably could have took him out with like 1 or 2 or whatever. He gave him 2 at the end. You guys know how I feel like. I'm not a big fan of Cody Rhodes Crossroads, and I'm not a bigger fan of when he does it 3 times in a row. Like, I felt that like he's done that to people who didn't deserve to take 3 of them in a row as far as his finishes are concerned. So, like I said, solid match between both of them. Paul from Grace, thank you. But yeah, what I do want to say is about Paul is I do think wrestling is perfect for him as far as wrestling goes. I think that his character, I know that he has done a lot of personal choices and said a lot of things on his own time to where people are upset. And I'm not going into details about it, but I do think that he does a great job. He gets a reaction. And sometimes that's one of the important things in professional wrestling is to get a reaction. So what's going on, Lula? Hope I'm saying it right. But great. John Cena, 100 matches. They were saying that they respect Logan Paul. That's what Michael Cole said. And Wade Barrett was saying some good stuff. But like I said, I do think that this was a solid match. And I think Paris went home happy as far as John Cena. They had a big banner that said, "Thank you, Cena." Man, when that man leaves, a lot of people going to be crying and stuff. You can already tell, like, he's already going emotional. But yeah, he has definitely turned it up a lot of notches, John Cena, when it comes to wrestling and stuff like that. Maybe he just needed to be the good guy the whole time, but still, the heel thing could have worked. It just didn't, unfortunately. Main events, Seth Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion, versus CM Punk versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso. Great match between all 4 guys. The crowd loved everybody. They sung everybody's song except LA Knights, because LA Knights doesn't have like a beat that they can really follow, but they was saying, yeah, they was doing all of that stuff. Jey Uso with the taped ribs and stuff, he didn't really have his gear on because basically it was making it seem like he was just still ready to fight because of what happened earlier in the show where he showed up late to help his cousin. Yeah, he's a good man. But Good match. Table spots, a lot of table spots, a lot of finishing moves. People were working together, and then they wasn't working together. What I did like about this match for sure was that these guys are the main eventers on Raw, and it did look like at one point it can go either way. Obviously, we have our predictions, and we feel like we know how it's going to go a certain way. It was banning the Vision from ringside. It was saying it was at the hospital with Paul Heyman, who was probably in the same hospital with Roman Reigns, but we'll go with that. Hopefully they got some footage of them fighting, hitting each other with bedpans like Vince and Stone Cold. Well, Stone Cold did Vince back in the day. That'll be funny, but still very good. At the end of the show, I think everybody was like, okay, wait, what's going on? Because when Punk hit Rollins with the go to sleep, Rollins bounced off the ropes and then landed on his shoulder, a la the main event of Raw on Netflix. So some people probably was like, we already know, are they going to do it again? Are they going to do it again? Didn't do it again. As soon as CM Punk picked him up, CM Punk usually has a thing for urgency. He had no thing of urgency this time. He picked him up, said best in the world. It was an assailant who gave CM Punk a low blow. And then Seth did the curb stomp 1, 2, 3. Who's the assailant? He got a new member of the Vision. It was his wife, Becky Lynch. Finally, I'll say finally at this point. They're both evil. I'm trying to think of the last time there was like a super duper power couple that made sense. I know a lot of people are calling Undertaker and Michelle McCool a power couple on the politics and stuff about the situation with the podcast and stuff. It's a joke. It's a joke. Don't get mad at me, y'all, but still, power couple. I am curious to see what they're going to do with it. They're both champions and stuff. Obviously, I think they match each other's swag and stuff. So I am curious to see where it goes with that. She protected her husband and stuff like that, and I can see the jokes and all of that. But outside of that, one of the takeaways is that people are expecting AJ Lee to return. They're expecting her to return because Becky touched her husband between his legs with the low blow. And her husband is CM Punk, if you guys don't know. Somebody had a sign and CM Punk was like looking at it and acknowledging it and stuff like that. So curious to see where we're going to go with that. A lot of people miss AJ Lee. It'll be good to see her again and stuff like that. I know a lot of people seen her. What was the show? Heels on Stars or something. She was a part of that. A lot of people asked her in interviews, when are you coming back? When want you to come back? When CM Punk went to AEW, a lot of people were like, oh man, she's going to come back because her husband is here and he said he would never wrestle again and all of this other stuff. And he showed up to AEW. So it's curious to see, I think that AJ Lee can sell tickets. I think a lot of young women, they look at her, some of the women who aren't the traditional diva of even now, like Rhea and stuff like that, they looked up to her because of how she looked and how she carried herself. She wasn't blonde. She wasn't the traditional person with certain things in her body or on her body and stuff. And, because, Lita was like that for AJ Lee back in the day. That's why there's the video of AJ Lee being very young, getting the autograph, and she was crying and stuff like that. Because, at one point, Lita was like the outcast and stuff. She looked different, more than traditional WWE diva. And AJ Lee, she made her own lane and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of people liked her. She had her own version of the pipe bomb with, when she talked about the divas, talking about they slept their way to the top and you guys could never wear my Chuck Taylors. I remember, we remember this stuff. I remember the run she had as like the general manager, and then the love square she had with Kane, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk. Yeah, it was a weird time. It definitely was a weird time back then. And even John Cena, I believe, was like involved with it. No, that was like John Cena and Dolph Ziggler. It was crazy. They was doing some crazy stuff with that young lady as far as storylines. But still, a lot of people want her to come back. I wouldn't be surprised that on Raw, people are going to chant AJ Lee's name as soon as Becky grabs the microphone. It's going to be interesting to see the situation. Now, as far as a whole final PLE for Peacock and Clash in Paris, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was solid. Usually out of town shows, for the most part, they do great. The crowd was great. They were singing the songs and stuff. They was vibing. Jelly Roll and Post Malone was there. They kept showing Jelly Roll and Post Malone. Get used to them showing celebrities in front row to see their reactions. Just get used to it, because if you were sick of seeing them too, wait till this WrestlePalooza show when they have all of these athletes from other sports and stuff like that. Wait till you see them there. You're going to see a lot of people just in the crowd looking. I remember one show where Dana White was at. They kept showing Dana White, and Dana White was just looking like, oh, I guess we're supposed to wave again. UFC. But still, like I said, I thought we had, I thought we had till like December as far as Peacock subscription to have PLEs. I only have Peacock for the PLEs. I don't really care about the other movies, so I'm going to unsubscribe. But still, the ESPN thing is still up in the air. It's in Indianapolis, WrestlePalooza, but the tickets look kind of crazy, so I don't even think I'm going to go about 2 hours away to go see it or whatever like that. But I'll figure it out. But for what it's worth, it was a great, pretty good PLE. About to sneeze. Was a great PLE for the most part. But still, I do know that you can still watch NXT PLEs if you are interested in NXT, which a lot of people are. So if you want to watch that, that is still a option. For me, it's not. I don't really watch them. I watch some of the highlights and stuff, but still. But what did you guys think? I hope you enjoyed it. If not, that's fine. What did you like? What didn't you like? And what do you think they're going to do moving forward? Put the ones up. Gotta acknowledge. Sure. So shout out to you, Ken Ward. So leave a message in the comments and stuff. I'm gonna be checking and stuff if you don't see it live, if you see it later and stuff like that. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy Clash in Paris? Did you not? What do you think about it being the final PLE for WWE on Peacock? And did they do a great job? Let me know. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.